Nintendo has a reputation for slapping their experimental ideas onto a random IP. This is how we got games such as the educational Mario games on the Super Nintendo, along with Kirby Tilt and Tumble and Yoshi Topsy Turvy. Or Yoshi's Universal Gravitation if you live in Europe. Why? I don't know. While these games are rather well known, they're nowhere near as talked about as, say, their Super Nintendo counterparts, Kirby Superstar and Yoshi's Island. These games are much more often talked about and said to be some of the cream of the crop of the SNES library, or perhaps some of the best games Nintendo has ever put out, period. Staying in this period of gaming in the 90s, specifically the latter half of them, we saw the introduction and massive success of the Pokemon franchise, which to this day remains the highest grossing media franchise of all time. While these games were great at the time, they were played on this thing. The original Game Boy was an absolute brick of a handheld, becoming even more cumbersome and heavy to hold when you insert the 4 AA batteries. That's right, 4. They eventually got it down to just 2 for their later handhelds, but like, jeez. At least it wasn't like the Sega Game Gear, which needed 6, but I digress. Anyway, the clunkiness of the handheld aside, the screen itself was even worse. You constantly needed a light source above it to see anything. Sure, there was this contrast slider thing, but it really didn't solve much. So while the original Pokemon Red and Blue were great at the time, they're pretty hard to go back to now, especially on original hardware. But the 90s was also the introduction of something huge, the third dimension. We saw games in 3D for the first time ever, most notably games like Mario 64, Crash Bandicoot, and all the other platformer games we got. Nintendo's Super Smash Bros. On the 64 was a huge hit. Developed by HAL, the creators of Kirby, it was a fighting game featuring everyone's favorite Nintendo characters, and Donkey Kong was there too. They would also go on to develop Kirby 64 The Crystal Shards, but before that, they took Pokemon, the series best known for its catching and battling mechanics, and made a game where you take pictures of Pokemon. Who comes up with this shit? Did people want this game? I don't know, man, maybe. Was there any public fan outcry for it beforehand though? Hell no. This was such a weird idea for a game. I mean, hot off the heels of the first 3D Pokemon game, Pokemon Stadium on the N64. Yeah, that game was like just battles, but at least it was what made Pokemon Pokemon. It made sense. This is a damn rail shooter with a camera instead of a gun. This game may have been confusing to a lot of people at the time, and I feel like a lot of people had the same reaction. Why take an RPG where you build a team of cute and fearsome monsters and turn it into this? But that was back then. It's been over 20 years and I've still barely touched this game. So is it any good? Let's find out. The game opens up to this guy, whose name is apparently Todd Snap. He's a photographer dicking around in the woods trying to photograph rare Pokemon. Well, he tried his best. So we pick a name for our photographer card and hello there! Professor Oak wants us to take pictures of Pokemon for his report, so he gives us this vehicle called the 01. Huh. It's basically a minecart thing that can also fly. Pretty neat. Press A to do it. So we go to the first level and yeah, you hold the Z trigger to zoom and then the A button to take a photo. You can only take them while you're holding Z though, which limits your view more than it did previously. Since it slightly zooms things in, it adds a disorienting challenge to the photography in this game. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It adds a little bit of an obstacle to an otherwise cakewalk of a game. On the first level, the photo opportunities are spaced out perfectly for a beginner. There's enough breathing room for a player to take multiple of one species before moving on to the next as the level goes on. While the first level is easier because of this, the later levels add more depth and a lot of the good shots you can get are placed closer to each other, increasing how frantically you'll be swinging that slow as hell camera around to get shots of different Pokemon. When you're taking photos, it's best to have your Pokemon big and centered in your frame. Cool poses or locations could also help you get way higher scores. If it's too small, you'll likely get a garbage score, so try and wait until you're as close as possible. And just remember, even if a photo looks absolute shit to you, Professor Oak might be all over it. Like this horrible picture of a Jinx I took. I couldn't really get a better angle, but just because it was big enough and nearly centered. Wonderful! As you achieve different goals, you'll also unlock some items and upgrades to help you along the way. Firstly, after getting enough points across all your photos so far, you'll unlock apples that you can throw out in the field. These allow you to get better shots of Pokemon. For example, if you revisit the first level, you can throw an apple at this previously absent-minded and uninterested Kangaskhan, and it'll turn at you to intimidate you. Probably my favorite example was in the third level. I saw a Magmar and Charmander on a ledge to my left, so I threw an apple not sure what would happen. They both ran for it to try to claim it as theirs, and after the Magmar did that, the Charmander evolved into Charmeleon. I thought this was a really cool little touch that made the Pokemon feel more alive, like they're actually inhabiting these lands and fighting over food and such. You can also get these Pester Balls. These are also throw items, but they have some different effects. Sometimes it'll knock out a Pokemon, other times it'll be used to wake them up, or knock them out of an area that they were previously stuck in. My favorite example of using these was definitely in the 4th level when I noticed these weird bulges on the rocky walls. I really had no idea what they could be for, but after I got Pester Balls, I threw one and I saw Porygon fly out of there. Still camouflaged until I threw another Pester Ball at him. Porygon has always been a favorite Pokemon of mine, so it was pretty cool to see him in a natural environment despite him being an artificially created Pokemon. You can also get the speed boost for your cart thing. If you hold R, then boom, you're zooming through the level. It doesn't help that Pokemon often get in the way when you do this, like this Electabuzz, holy shit man, move! But it's still a pretty useful feature for when you want to traverse back through a level to take a picture of something. The last item you get is the Pokeflute, which has a few effects on some other Pokemon, but most notably it allows you to finally wake up the Snorlax in the 1st level, just like you would have in the original Kanto games. I can appreciate all of these items. Without them, while the game would have still been kinda cool, it'd just be photography. Having at least a little control over your environment makes something as simple as that a lot more interesting. How about the levels themselves? Well, they're pretty nice looking. This is one of the N64 games that came out in the latter half of its lifespan, having released in 1999. I'd consider this lifespan to be from 1996 to 2001. We got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 in 2002, but like it came out on next-gen consoles right after, who cares? Anyway, for its time in console, the environments are pretty damn good looking. Nothing mind-blowing like Conker's Bad Fur Day or anything, but still. The Pokemon inhabiting them are also really expressive and adorable, even if some of their models aren't the most flattering. We got a beach level to start things off, as a nice and vibrant starting course, then we go to an abandoned power plant. The music in this level is kinda just annoying to me, but it's still a pretty cool course. Then there's the volcano level, one of my favorites mainly because of the Moltres egg you hatch. That reminds me, there's also Zapdos and Articuno eggs you can hatch with the Pokeflute and some of the other levels, which it is pretty cool to get pictures of all 3 legendary birds. After the volcano, we've got the forest river level, another favorite of mine due to its vibrant coloring and awesome Pokemon. You could just get a lot of cool shots here, be it from the Bulbasaurs, that Vileplume you can wake up, or of course, Porygon. Then there's this cave level. Not one of my favorites, mostly because there's a lot of shots you can get that are hindered by the slow camera speed. But, I mean, hey, we've got Ditto disguised as Bulbasaur. I like that, they look stupid. The next level, the valley, is just alright. The coloring is pretty boring, and to open this alternate path, you need to hit this Squirtle with perfect timing to propel it up this mountain to hit off the Mankey on top, so you can later hit him onto a button. The last part of that isn't very hard at all, but getting the right aim and timing for that Squirtle was a pain in the ass. On top of that, I had to sit and wait until I got through the level again multiple times to get there again. I didn't need any more photo points for any more upgrades, so there wasn't any point in taking more pictures on my way. But anyway, after taking that alternate path, Professor Oak's there for some reason. He talks about how there's hidden Pokemon signs, one within each level. He gives us the task of taking pictures of all of them. And with the new speed boost thing I acquired shortly beforehand, retraversing each level was a breeze. I even got some new pictures using the Pokeflute, and oh shit, Pikachu's on a surfboard! Give me those points, Professor Oak! Wonderful! Once you photograph all of the signs, you unlock the final level, Rainbow Cloud. It's a flat plane with a rainbow texture, fair enough. This is where we finally encounter Mew again, which we saw briefly in the intro when this dude struggled hard getting a good picture. So we throw shit at the barrier and boom, it's Mew. Can you get better angles than this? Maybe, but I don't know how, so this was the best I could do. And hey, it's a legendary Pokemon, so I automatically got 2,500 points anyway. After that level, that's basically it. You made it! The credits are pretty cool. It shows off some of the photos you took. I love that Jigglypuff one. And that's Pokemon Snap. Was it good? Yeah, it's good enough. I would have liked to see a lot more though. I only have 3 hours of footage from my entire playthrough, and that includes the time between 2 of the levels that I went and took a shit. What this game had was pretty good overall, but there was a lot more untapped potential. They did release a new Pokemon Snap game pretty recently on the Switch, but I haven't bought it and I don't know if I will. If I ever do though, I'll be sure to make a video out of it to see if it added on to what this game had going for it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm sorry it took me so long to make a new video. This last school year was pretty crazy for me since it was all online and I had to put up with a lot of bullshit, so I ultimately decided to put off videos until the summer. But now the summer's here, and I'm gonna try my best to make up for all that time I lost. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, and leave a comment telling me your thoughts on Pokemon Snap or this video. I'd love to hear you guys' feedback so I can improve in the future. Also make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications because there will be some new videos throughout the summer as well. Hopefully I'll see you all again soon. Bye.